Hey guys, we're going to learn about some sandy shores today. Now before you say, oh, I should know everything about sandy shores because I live right next to one and I've been to one a gajillion times growing up here, I want you to know that there are things that you do not know about sandy shores, and I am going to blow your mind. Are you ready? Let's do it. Label your notes. Part 3, sandy shores. Nice and I said part 3, but I meant part 1. I don't know why I'm like way ahead of myself. Scratch that, start over. Label your notes, sandy shores, part 1. Nice and ginormous across the top of your paper. In your own handwriting, and you can do it on paper and take pictures of the paper and submit that to Schoology, or you can do it on Notability and submit it to Schoology, but either way it is handwritten and submitted to Schoology for me to see that you watched my video. Feel free to leave comments in your notes too, because you know I'm reading them. You can always say hi. Alright, sandy shores. So, what is a sandy shore? The official definition is that sandy beaches are soft shores formed by the deposition of particles that have been carried by wind, currents, and waves. Where do these little particles come from? Okay, so some of the sand itself is made from little pieces of the land where the waves and the wind have hit it over and over and over again, and it broke down into these fine little particles. Some of the sand can be tiny little particles that have traveled down rivers and been deposited on the beach. But a lot of the sand is the shells broken down, the remains of our organisms. So yeah, when you were a kid and you were making sand castles out of the sand, and making sand angels, and maybe you got buried in the sand, yeah, you were rolling around in the skeletons of dead organisms. Yeah. I'm sorry to ruin your childhood like that, but some of it was, parts of the land broken down into teeny tiny little pieces, but, ew. Okay, so sand. Because most of our shells are made out of calcium carbonate or silicon, sandy shores are made out of small, hard rock particles of silica. So combined together, we have silicon dioxide, quartz. There's also going to be other minerals like mica and feldspar. It's really going to depend on what the land surrounding the beach is made out of. So, let's look at it. Okay, so you can find black sandy shores, which I imagine most of you have heard of before, or maybe even been to visit it in Hawaii or the Canary Islands or the Aleutian Islands. And the black sandy beaches are black because of all the volcanic activity there. So the volcanic materials that are coming from the lava are broken down into sand, and so we get black sandy shores. So most of this is going to be iron and titanium, okay? And here is a black sandy beach in New Zealand as well. Here is one in Iceland. All right, pink sandy beaches. I imagine some of you have heard of the pink sandy beaches or been to the Bahamas and seen them, and you're like, wow, it was really pretty and it was cool. It's pink because it's made out of the broken coral pieces and shells. So whatever's left behind by our tiny marine creatures that had red and pink shells that get broken down, and it is found in the Bahamas. Okay, so it is going to be a mixture of white sand with the red coral and the red and pink shells, so it makes it a pink beach. And here's one in Indonesia. But did you know that there were green sandy shores? Did you? Because I didn't. And it's kind of on my bucket list someday to go and see one of these. So the green color comes from the Avalene crystals, which erode out of what are called basalt lava flows. So you're only going to find these in Hawaii and Guam. So I thought that was pretty cool. Orange sandy shores. What? Orange? Okay, this is going to be in Italy, and it comes from a combination of orange limestone and the crushed shells and even some volcanic lava deposits. Orange. Okay, kind of crazy, but really cool. Never seen one of those in person either. This one is more likely to actually happen because it's here in the United States and California. And it's sometimes more purple than others, depending on the year. But if there is the garnet that has been broken down and it's in these teeny tiny little pieces, you get these really pretty flows of purple. And yes, someday it's going to happen. I'm going to see this beach in person. All right, it's called Pfeiffer Beach, and it's in California. All right, red sandy shores. So, and this is really mostly from iron deposits that have been eroded from the land. So it gives it a nice deep color of red. And they're found all over the place, actually. Hawaii, Canada, Portugal, Greece, Malta, Italy, Ecuador. And you can see this really cute seal hanging out here. You know he's a seal because he has ear flaps and a short neck and his legs can't go forward, right? I know you remember that. All right, let's see. More red, more red. Oh, the white sandy shores that are super famous. These are, yeah, they're made out of poop. Yeah, if you want to go roll around in this one, like that's, you know, classy. It's not just dead things, but it's poop. Okay, so this parrotfish, see his ginormous teeth? Chunk, 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 okay? He actually will bite the coral off of dead corals, and he's really just trying to get the algae off of the rocks. So he's eating the algae, and the coral is just, you know, he's able to grind it up and poop it out. So they eat the coral and poop out sand, and then the sand will build up on the shoreline, and bam, you have a beautiful white sandy beach made out of poop. You don't believe me? Here's a video clip. I gave you two. I'm not playing the videos for you this time because it has a horrible echo, so I'm going to let you play them on your own. And here's a beach that someday we do have to visit because it's in Queensland, Australia, and it has 72 different colors that could be spotted from all of the cliffs that are nearby, and I just think that's kind of amazing. So, did you know about all those colors? If not, I feel like I should have blown your mind just a little bit. All right, so now that we talked about all these different colors of sandy beaches, where can we find them? In the United States, from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, all the way down the Gulf Coast and along the East Coast. There are some rocky shores in there too. So the dark brown is not sand. So up by like Maine, not a sandy shore. Okay, it is actually a rocky shore, which you didn't get to learn about this year, and I'm a little sad about that, but I'll make it available to you. All right, you can also look all around the world and see all the other places where there is sand. So lots of sandy shores. Now, a lot of people mistakenly think that there's not a lot of life on the sandy shore because of how rigorous the habitat is. Sand is constantly being moved by wind and waves, and so there's not a lot of stability, and that's what makes it really hard for plants to grow. So you have to go up, all the way up to the dunes to even find any plants at all. But it is not devoid of life. Most of that life, however, is found under the sand. So I'm gonna need you to write down 5 things, 5 organisms that you could find at some point on the sandy shore. Okay, so our hermit crabs are definitely found on the sandy shore. Our ghost crabs and our mussels, these are little coquinas. We have these all over the place in Florida. I'm sure you've seen them before. We've got our seagulls and our pelicans and our sandpipers. We don't have seals here in Florida, but they do have them in other places. But what we do have in abundance are the cutest little sea turtles on the face of the earth that are born here. So how are these creatures living on this sandy shore where it's constantly being moved by wind and waves, okay? And how are they not like melting? Okay, so you go to the beach and you dig down a couple inches and it's cold and it's wet. Sand has this ability to hold in a lot of water. So our invertebrates are gonna burrow down into the sand when it's like low tide and they would be exposed to too much air and they could melt. Okay, like, not really melt, they die from desiccation, from drying out. Or they also hide in them to hide from predators. Okay, but the movement of the sand in the water and the wind make the sandy beaches really unsuitable for rooted and attached organisms. So you're not gonna find a lot of sea anemones on a sandy shore because they can't root to anything. And like I said, your plant life's gonna be far, far further up on the shoreline, okay? But even on all these grains of sand, life is really small, and sometimes it's too small for you to even see with the naked eye. So larger invertebrates can be found on the beach, lots of crustaceans and lots of mollusks, but a lot of the creatures that live here you don't even see. All right, let's talk about some of the plant life that makes it up in the dunes. There's sea oats and American beach grass that are really long-lived, slow growing, they need warm, and they're usually found in the upper dunes, okay? And they're really, really important to the ecosystem. They provide stability and hold the dune in place. And they're drought resistant, they're immune to fungus, and they're really hardy. Now, sea oats are protected in lots of states, including Florida. So picking or disturbing sea oats is punishable by fine in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Now in Florida, they're even way more strict, and they said it's unlawful for any purpose to cut, harvest, remove, eradicate, or interfere with any of the grass commonly known as sea oats. So if you climb on a dune and you mess up the sand and then some of the roots get exposed, guess what? You interfered with the grass and you can be heavily fined. So no more crawling on dunes. You cannot say I did not tell you. And if you ever get a ticket for it, shame on you. It's your own fault because now you know. The more you know. All right, the dune sunflower is a beach sunflower, and it's native to the United States and is found all along the Atlantic and Gulf coasts. The dune sunflower is typically in the summer, but in Florida we have such nice weather, it's year-round. Now, they're really, really important. They lay this ground cover for other organisms to hide in. So small animals and rodents and butterflies and moths and bees, the pollinators come here, and they're gonna hide in and among it, and then the seeds are eaten by the birds. So the dune sunflower plays a very, very important role. Now you may have seen the railroad vine that grows on sand dunes. We do have it here in Florida, and it's perennial, which means it's gonna be around year after year, okay? And they bloom, but only for like one day. But then they repeat blooming all year round. So you may have been lucky enough to see a railroad vine bloom. Just know that if you did, you hit it on the exact right day, okay? Then we have sea purslane, which grows all over the beaches in the south and all the way up to Pennsylvania. All right, very, very, very rich source for chemicals, molting insects, and crustaceans. They're super salt tolerant, and the roots set just above the high tide line. So wind carrying sand is going to hit this plant, it's going to slow down, and the sand will drop everything it's carrying. And these guys, their really big function is to help build the sand dune itself. All right. Now, we've talked about all sorts of biotic factors, the plants and animals that you can find here. Let's talk about abiotic factors. You know we have the wave action. You have the sand itself, the sunlight, the temperature, moisture remaining inside the sand, wind currents, and nutrient availability. Now, we can't be more specific about this in sandy shores because sandy shores are found all over the world. So the amount of wave action could be different because remember we know that there's different types of tides. The sand itself is going to be made out of different things. That's why they're different colors. How much sunlight they get is going to depend on where they are in the course of the Earth rotating around the sun, temperature, latitude and longitude. So all of these things are going to be different depending on where in the world it's found. But the most important factor is the wave action in determining organisms' distribution. How much can live there? Are they mobile or are they deep burrowers? The bigger the wave action, the more deep burrowers you're going to find. Temperature has less of an effect because the insulating properties of the sand and the water itself. Because the sand retention of water and desiccation, the salinity fluctuations are much less severe on sandy shores too. All right, I'm not making you do the exit ticket. So that's it. That is part 1. Yes. Part 1, not 3. Part 1 notes of sandy shores. Make sure that you go and submit it to Schoology for me, and I will give you a grade for it. And I hope that I blew your mind a little bit with the orange and the red and the purple and the green sandy beaches. And if I did, make sure you tell your parents about it because I think it's awesome. All right, I will see you on Thursday or Friday when we do Sandy Shore Notes Part 2.